Hey Abe, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. I know it's been a while now since you've kind of made this decision, but we haven't talked to you since you kind of made your decision to come back for another year. Can you talk about that decision? Who you kind of talked to about that, and what was kind of the main factor in wanting to come back for another season?
I talk with my family a lot. Ultimately, I made the choice for myself. I didn't let anybody influence it, but I just felt like I wasn't ready. Felt like there was more I could learn. Um, Physically, yeah, I'm a big guy and all that, but it's all about what you do in between your ears that'll take you far, and I don't have all the pieces that I want to have yet. So I figured that this year would be great to hit the film harder than I ever have, especially this summer. That's going to be my point of emphasis.
Is it more cleaning up technique and really kind of focusing on the smaller details and pad level and things like that to kind of shore those things up before you take that next step?
Yeah, that and then like the chalk talk, being able to get on the board, write stuff down, call fronts. Calling fronts isn't necessarily something I do from the right tackle spot. That's more of a center's job, but to know that is extremely helpful in the world of football. So just to get better at those types of things.
Was it a pretty easy decision for you, or did you really have to kind of spend some time thinking about it and really kind of going through that process with people to make that decision?
It was difficult. Had an opportunity, still have an opportunity, God willing, but had an opportunity then to really try to change my life, in ways that I could never really imagine. And I'm very happy with the decision I made. I don't regret it. But in the moment, it really was pulling me both directions because there's pros and cons for both sides, So I just I try to tie up any loose ends, and I'm sticking with my guns.
I know that you're not really on social media, and so I'm sure you had a lot of people asking about your decision. Did you have to field a bunch of text messages from teammates and coaches asking if you were going to stay for another year, if you're going to go, or can you kind of walk us through that process of telling your teammates and coaches?
Yeah, well, I deleted all my social media because it was distracting, and then I kind of felt like it was pretty stupid after a while. So, but I still have Facebook, but that's for old people. But I didn't get too many messages. Uh, I mean, I was in talks with my family. A couple of my teammates, like, I was talking to Liam about it a lot, just because we're kind of in the same boat with this being our last year to playing, but it really wasn't. I didn't get blown up that much, thank God.
We saw Andre Dillard at practice last week, and I think he was at the spring game too. Did he kind of give you any wisdom or advice on how to kind of approach this last year? He obviously kind of used his last year to his advantage and really kind of moved up on draft boards and was able to go in the first round.
Yeah, he gives a lot of good advice. When I see him face to face, though, we try not to talk as much football and just kind of because that dude is in the big leagues, and when you're in the big leagues, that's all anybody wants to talk to you about is how it is in the big leagues and how'd you get there and all that. So it's tiring, I would imagine, to him. So like me and Liam and guys who are really close with him, like we just try to keep it on like a personal level as friends, try not to bug him too much about that stuff. If he brings it up, of course, then we'll roll with it. But like for me, myself, I wasn't like, hey man, like, what do I do here? What do I do here? How's the NFL? All that stuff. I just try to keep it on a friend level with him.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Abraham Lucas? Just raise your hand and we'll call on you. Okay, next one's going to be Zach from Coug Fan. Go ahead, Zach.
Hey, Abe, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. This spring, are you starting to notice the offensive line and maybe yourself personally get a little bit more aggressive and feeling a little bit more confident with your run blocking now in your second year in the run and shoot?
Yeah. I can't really speak for anybody else, but based on what I see on the film, things are improving. I've gotten a lot better, I think, in the run aspect. It's not something we really did a lot with Leach, so there wasn't really that much room to grow in it. But this spring has been very productive.
And what do you think the most maybe difficult or challenging part was of just that change you guys went through from the wide sets and constant pass blocking to now kind of coming off with a little bit more white knuckles?
It wasn't a super hard change just because like it didn't really really take anything away except for the amount of times that we passed. And the amount of times that we did pass with Leach definitely helps with our pass sets now because we've done it so much before. But it's really just like a technique thing in my eyes. Being able to adapt to, like, now we're running the ball just as much as we pass, whereas before it was all pass and hardly any run. So just trying to focus on the techniques and get better one day at a time.
And this spring, as you go against defensive guys, I know you match up with Ron Stone a lot, but are there any other edge defenders that you think have sort of improved immensely since last fall?
Quinn Ross, a really big try-hard guy, you know. I mean, he's not necessarily blessed super physical. I mean, you know, he goes out, you'll see him. He's not going to wow you with like a physique or like an Adonis physique or anything, but he gives his best every time, and I can appreciate that. You know, even when he feels like the rest of us a little banged up and sore and all that, he's still coming 100 miles an hour.
Thanks, Abe.
All right, we have time for one more. Our last one's going to be from Theo. Go ahead, Theo.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about the quarterbacks, Jarrett and Cam, especially, and where you think both of those guys have come in, especially Jarrett, his first spring with you guys, how he's kind of developed and kind of fit into not only the offense, but the locker room there at Washington State.
Well, I don't see too much of the quarterback competition other than in team periods and all that. So, I mean, based on their individual work, I couldn't answer that for you. But as far as like team competition goes, I think it's pretty healthy. Both guys are cool in the locker room. You know, there's not like bad blood or anything between them. I mean, Jarrett obviously still is getting harassed by a bunch of salty fans from Tennessee, which baffles me. But I think he's shaking it off as best he can. And Cam is continuing to improve as well.
Have you guys talked about any kind of team specific goals for the fall as far as what you guys want to do, win-loss record-wise or bowl games or anything like that? Or is that still kind of TBD and something you guys will talk about in August?
I think that kind of comes sort of as, you know, the season goes on and as it starts and throughout it. I mean, you can't really like set goals if you haven't put in the work to get to those goals yet. So, like, I mean, for me personally, I'm not even really thinking about next season. I was just trying to focus on this spring and getting through this spring, not punching a clock, but coming every day with the same mentality. And that's pretty difficult, especially because everything starts to get really repetitive. You know, your body starts to hurt, things start to break down, but you got to just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and keep going.